Member Muschetti,
Here.
Member Pierce, Member Ramos, Member Vaugh, Member Williford. Okay.
Okay. So is there any public expression? We have some public. Anybody needs to say anything? Okay. I need a motion to approve the agenda. That's not on here. Well, I'm going to ask for an agenda approval. Anybody? No, we don't have. Okay, never mind. I'm trying to be consistent for my own. Anyway, I know. Okay. Approval of the minutes from May, this last May, last quarter.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the 27th. I'll second it.
Okay. Is there any discussion? Anybody have found anything else? Okay. So you want to do, pardon me? That was my next thing. I'm just trying to decide if I want to do it as roll call or by hands. And we can do this one by hand.
Before you do, can I just ask who made the motion? Thank you.
And Spaghetti Lady was the second. Okay, so, and anybody in favor, please raise your hand. Anybody against it, please raise yours. Okay, so that passes. The Measure B financial report. Pardon me? Okay.
Right now we're working on year-end close, so we're going to get everything reconciled and wrapped up. So there's major to report right now on it. Cleaning up and from finishing up invoicing and getting our 25-26 year info.
So every year we only dump into the food and dirt, so we finish the year in close for 25-26. So the money added to the reserve reflect that year.
That's what's very, I'm going to read that because that's a conversation we're going to have later today.
Okay,
So I think we'll have, make sure that that's a position on the reserve, so we may be some decisions on it.
Okay, so other than that, any other questions? Okay, that was the quickest financial report I've heard in a long time. Okay. So. And we're going to do the Measure B related items, the Board of Supervisors meeting. Is that Dr. Miller, or are you going to go over that?
Yeah, so I don't have, anything to report, nothing like it's going to be like gone in front of the board of supervisors for the last 2 weeks. Obviously, if there's anything to do, they have to report it for the next, or for them, so it could be like a few items of it, but this is specific things I need to confirm it, but we don't have anything to report right now.
Okay. And would you like to go forward then Doc, did, oh. Okay. All right.
So do we want to go?
I'm looking at Dr. Miller. I know what I'm doing. That's what I was, okay.
And that's
That's,
mostly where we're at, so and we decided for you know, all for reasons that after we
okay, so that's where I'm looking at you and saying, are you okay with 3F?
yes, yes.
Okay, thank you. Yep, you're it.
So for item 3F, last time we discussed bringing back language or just an update on the lease for the psychiatric health facility. So the executive office is working with Dr. Miller to finalize the lease. We're looking at what rates we charge us had. We did look at whether prevailing wage would have to be paid on a like non-county owned building or a county owned building, but a third party, like ResCAD, usually updates. So on that part, anytime that public funds are being used or being public or offsetting revenues by public funds, prevailing wage does have to be calculated in as part of the billing code for counties. So in this instance, we would be potentially that we could charge ResCAD for rent or lease. And it's based around the discussion if we increase the lease amount too much on their day rate, it could cause a negative effect on the revenue fund and the general fund because of the Medi-Cal reimbursement. So anytime, because we're doing that offset, if ResCAD were to try to do
In regarding to the lease conversation, if, for several of you who've been on for a long time with, or may have heard, me speak, when we really started talking about this stuff, I have said pretty much from day one that in most counties, there's kind of a share of cost for psychiatric health facilities. Because there is the way that they operate when they come in is that the county will pay a per bed rate, or a per bed per day rate. And the expectation is that's to make the provider whole. And so when we started looking at that, we assumed that it was going to cost maybe about 1.2 to 1.5 million a year to maintain that facility. Just so that they weren't the bed. No provider's going to come in and offer the service if they're going to be the bed and they can't be made whole. And so we went into the project building psychiatric health facilities knowing that there would potentially be a deficit every year to operate that facility. Behavioral health, mental health, behavioral health as a whole, but you don't, and mental health, specifically, you don't make money. Like, we don't make money providing mental health services, right? It's kind of, you might break even, a lot of times, there can be a loss in service and funding really do all the services you have to do, so you're not breaking even. And so we've always had this process in the service, and Sherry's had it in her long-term plan, that projection that we're going to have this funding that we're going to have to take whoever the provider was as a whole. One of the things we went into when we really put out the RFP was looking for a provider who can run it like a business, more of a business model, and not always rely on the county to make them whole. And when we first, if people remember when we first started talking, we were talking to Telecare, and they came on
you said you have to stay within that rate.
Well, we want them to stay within that rate, they don't have to, but we want
What does
them
it mean
to.
to stay within the rate?
So if Medi-Cal says, we will reimburse, $1,500 a day, and you have a provider that comes in and says, well, our day rate, we have one that is $3,000 a day, right? So that means Medi-Cal's only gonna reimburse up to $1,500, but they don't reimburse 100% of that. It depends on the individual's A code. So if you had somebody that Medi-Cal says, we reimburse 60%, and the county share of cost, because the county has a share of cost in every Medi-Cal service, you have a share of cost. This is specific to mental health programs and drug Medi-Cal programs. It's not like other Medi-Cal programs, like if you go and see your primary care, they don't have a share of cost. In the special mental health system, the behavioral health system, there's a share of cost. The county always has a share of cost. We have to match that share of cost. So in that, so they billed us $3,000 per day. Medi-Cal is only gonna pay 60% of the 1,500. The county is now having to come up with the remainder, the 40% of the 1,500 in addition to the additional $1,500. So Medi-Cal said, so what happens every year, Medi-Cal, and it used to be a permanent rate in special mental health, SUDT has always been by a service. Special mental health, several years ago, it was a permanent rate based on the type of service. Medi-Cal changed their model 2 years ago, and now it's it's a rate based on provider type. So they kind of changed from a permanent to a provider type. And then if it's a facility, it's a facility type. So the state gets every year, we get a list of here's all of your rates. And that's how much Medi-Cal will allow you to bill, they'll pay up to, but remember, they don't pay 100%. So even if it's $1,500, they're not paying you $1,500 unless you have this really rare opportunity that you have someone that gets 100% coverage, which almost never happens. You're always gonna have a county share of cost. So what we wanna make sure in this situation is as we're looking at that lease, that the per day, per bed rate aligns with what is approved for Mendocino County's Medi-Cal billing, because every county has a different rate. So our rates are not the same as Lake County's rates. They're not the same as Sonoma County's rates. They vacillate, they give you rates based on your county and your service needs and your cost to do those services. So you can't even look at and compare our rates to Lake County's rates. Their rates are actually higher than ours. So everybody's rates are different. So you really want to make sure that when we look at this lease, we want to make sure we're able to maintain their within the Medi-Cal rates, and that we're also not creating a situation where at the end of the year they're not going to be able to make themselves whole. So those are the two things we're taking in, knowing what is Mendoza Medi-Cal reimbursable and for pop, because it can vacillate depending on the type of facility, right? And then making sure that you're able to then not also have to happen to that. Because in other words, if we get it to where we increase it, let's say we ask, $50,000 a month for a lease, they're gonna request higher, they're gonna say our Medi-Cal rate needs to go up. And they might come back and we may come back and say, well, now that's an You know, right now, I think Russ had it either projected, I think it's, 1335 a day, that's what we were looking at, yeah, about 1335 a day, so projected, lease. And that projected per day per bed rate, that could change a little. And that I think was with like no lease. So imagine that's gonna go up. That is a really good per day, rate, I mean, per bed day rate. And for the general public, if you have private insurance or Medicare or whatever, you have a share of costs. Remember, as you rate that, that means your share of costs go up. So we're not just, you know, you can, apples and orange, those things of Medi-Cal, whatever, the county currently pays the 40%.
Right.
We're gonna continue to pay the way we do, and that's not gonna impact it. But if it starts trading more than what we would normally do, that becomes a Measure B expense. And you're also hurting your constituents on a level of, you know, let's give Measure B as much money, but are you helping people with private insurance? Are you helping people that are indigent and have no insurance and then they're gonna have to pay that out of their pocket? You know, why would we do that? We don't have to.
How long is the lease?
We're looking at a 5-year lease. That actually, the reason for the 5-year that we're considering is because it allows if we did a 5-year versus a 3-year, so we talked about a 3-year and a 5-year, they were able to reduce their bed rate pay. So that was beneficial.
No. Second question, do we lose any potential spaces in other facilities? Like if we fill up for some reason in Mendocino County bed there, and now we have more patients that need to go elsewhere, are we gonna still, because we have a facility here, are we gonna be able to send if there's available to us in
Yes.
other communities?
It does not change our ability to use any other facility. And the nice thing is, Breastside has 2 other facilities. So it's a nice, we could easily go through Breastside and make it say, you know, Mandarin's full, but, Red Bluff or Reading has availability. So it doesn't change our the ability to send it any other facility.
Will we have in the lease any stipulation that the beds are first offered to Mendocino County or?
Yeah, so that will be, I don't know that that will be in the lease, but it will be in the operating contract. We'll have a lease agreement that really talks about building and maintenance, and we'll have an operator contract, which will talk about cost and expectations, and yes, they have been told multiple times in the meeting that Mendocino County, the beds are for Mendocino County residents. If we're not able to fill them, of course, we'd never say no to that. And I know that the last time I talked to Lake County, of course, they're very interested if we have a good bed, it's easier to keep their clients closer.
So is it conceivable that there will be no cost to Measure B?
That's the whole point of keeping the lease low.
Right, right.
It's very conceivable that if we do this right, there will be no cost to Measure B. Minus the maintenance of your facility, so.
Right,
yeah.
But no operating cost to Measure B. Taking care
You
of
make
time.
sure, right.
So no operating cost, but we will still have to maintain the facility and do some of the maintenance, but yes. Right, but from the operating side, yes, that 1.2 million that we've been like thinking we very likely to do it right, we will never have to do that. That doesn't mean, 3 years, 4 years down the line that we're not having a different conversation, but with the way it looks right now, no. We are able, it's working with Breastside, works the way we hope, then yeah, we will not be needing that operating reserve. As long as we're ready.
So I've got a question. The Medi-Cal rate is used as the bellwether across the board, because we wanted this to be a super plan, which takes the indigent and takes the private insurance and hopefully, down the road, Medicare. So, but Medi-Cal is the rate that everything is judged by.
Medi-Cal is the rate, Mendocino County's Medi-Cal, so remember, Medi-Cal varies by county.
Right.
So Medi-Cal is the rate that, for Medi-Cal and indigent. What Medicare chooses to pay or what negotiations they make with private insurance is not 100% up to us. But I will tell you, I think any of us can look at our bills and private insurance, they get really good negotiated rates. But I would assume that they will
will we at some point see like a picture, a financial picture of what's being, proposed before it's done, signed, sealed, and delivered? Will we see that big proposal with all its pieces?
Delete.
No, well, I'm talking the whole picture, the lease, the, projected revenue from, well, you said 1335 per
But
day.
that's not our revenue, that's RentPad's revenue, right? So, I mean, we're not, you can assume their expectation is if we go with a 5-year lease, and I'm assuming that number might go up a little bit because we are looking at a low lease. I don't think it's gonna go up lower than, that much. But I think we can bring it back. I don't know that we will, get it back here before we implement it all, and so that'll go back to the board for approval and everything we do. I think we can bring it, but they project, their beds, 13 beds being built per day times their bed rate. So if you wanted to, you could just imagine that, right? Like, whatever their rate is times that 13 beds per day. And then sometimes it'll be 60 beds, and sometimes it'll be 14 beds. Sometimes it'll be 10 beds, right? But it's an overall, if they can overall have 13 beds per day throughout the year, they're able to meet their cost.
Meet their costs, and that includes half paying the rent and getting a profit.
That I can't speak for you how that's going.
Okay. 13 beds per day.
I'm sure we'll see all the pertinent things that,
No, I guess I'm just still sitting there wondering, how do we determine what the best lease is to offer?
well, that's what they're working on.
That's what we're working through right now. We're trying to determine, we don't want to kick it over and cause an impact on Measure B or the county. And then potentially if we kick it too high and it affects the, mental health side of the county and they can't afford it, then it becomes general fund. So we're trying to play a fine line of what is that number. We're working through it.
It's a balancing act.
And we don't want to get where the rate is so high that we can't even utilize it, because that would be a waste of having it.
It's all a process.
Sorry, I'm late. Look,
You're 5 minutes late?
no thanks.
Okay, I think we've done pretty well with that.
And so did we want to go back, since there were almost doing that
Yes.
before, so I don't know.
That's where I was heading.
3C,
3E,
3E.
that's when we wanted to form one, right?
Right, and Sheriff Kendall should be here within 10 minutes. Oh, he's here.
He walked in before you.
He was here ahead of you.
I was a training officer, that's why.
So, we are going to go back to 3E. Sorry for all this bouncing, but everybody's trying to do everything. So, 3E is, I'm even getting confused. 3E is, the Measure B funding for Core 2.0. And I'm presuming, Sheriff Kendall, you're here for this also? Yes. Okay. So, hold on, sorry about this. Okay, Dr. Moore, do you want to start with this and go from here?
Yeah, it's my, yeah.
It's your thing.
My thing, right here,
Right, so we've got, and we said Supervisor Norvell is not going to be.
yeah, he's not able to.
Okay.
So what I will start with, the board has met and set an ad hoc committee to focus on homelessness putting some additional focus on what we call first break, first episode psychosis. And what that means is that an individual starts having those first mental health symptoms where you really start to see, and a lot of times they have them earlier, but what we start to see is where you start seeing more of those delusions, hallucinations. It's a time when someone's like, well, they're not sure what's going on with them, and it's a time where a lot of people and families struggle, and a lot of times where you start seeing that they come to a moment where they end up sometimes being homeless because there's that lack of understanding what's going on. A lot of times there's conversations about was it drugs? Was it a breakup in a relationship? We don't know. I have this normal kid, and now there's something going on, and they change. So doing some first episode psychosis really look into to really work with families, and this isn't all of it, but really work with families to start identifying those first episode psychosis in the beginning, so that we can work with getting people into treatment before they become homeless. So that's one aspect of CORE, is really trying to start from the prevention model. We know prevention upstream is way more effective than treatment at the end, right? So how do we start doing some prevention activities? Also looking at how do we start working with landlords, so that if someone looks like they're starting to not do well, how can landlords reach out and say, hey, we got a person, is there anything you guys can do to help before they have to get evicted? So trying to do some upstream prevention work and that angle of trying to stop people from being evicted. And then also if we know they're going to be evicted, how do we start getting them to resources so that they don't end up on the street? In addition to making sure we have staff out there that are then working with those people that are currently homeless to help them get off the streets, and then resources for that. And also working with individuals who it takes time, so I'm going to be honest, not everyone's going to get housed tomorrow, but start working to build that rapport and getting people housed, and then making sure those that are not from the Mendocino County, how do we get them connected back to their resources so that they can go home wherever home is. We also propose in this model more collaboration with the criminal justice system as a whole, so we know when people are discharging from the jail that might be homeless, how do we better coordinate it together. I have talked with Sheriff Kendall about if there are situations we have to go out and it's not safe, coordinating because we have staff available, how we could assist us in those situations. We're used to going out and go out a lot in situations where we don't need LE, but there are some times where we definitely need that partnership, and that's a conversation we've had. We've also proposed in CORE 2.0 is that working with creating a regional approach. I don't know that the other counties will buy into this, but I did propose to Supervisor Norvell and Mohanna the fact that we need to work with our neighboring counties to start being responsible for their homeless. So how do we work with the team and start working with Sonoma, Lake, Humboldt, that we can say, hey, we've got your client, we've got ours, how do we make sure that we're taking responsibility for our residents, and we start ready to have that relationship. Hey, I've got your client, how do I get them that person, how do I get them back to you? So we start building this regional approach. We don't know how the other counties will feel, but I think that we've got to try something to make sure that we start working together. Otherwise, we're just moving one person from one place to another, and we're never going to solve the issue. The other thing, and I know it's not popular, but for some people, but CORE is not a housing first model. So I just want to say that out there. CORE is not a housing, and we're calling it CORE 2.0 and all the same time. CORE is not a housing first model. I know there are housing first people who think that that is the best in the system, and that that's the end all be all. But the reality of housing first, if you have someone before they're ready, they end up selling in housing, and then they get an eviction on their record, and then you can't find housing because they have an eviction on their record. And so we're actually selling people if that's what we put them into, and then they get an eviction, and then they can't get housing, right? They're vetted and everything. And so what we propose with CORE is developing an assessment tool, and I don't know that I found one, but we would develop an assessment tool that really assesses the individual from the perspective of where are they in their life, where are they in their mental health or substance use, to determine what level of housing and treatment do they need. Can they go into independent housing? Do they need to be in congregate
the city limits of Ukiah or the Ukiah Valley. And then after 12 months, we'll hopefully have an idea of what the workload is, of where the problems are, and hopefully this body will also get statistics like we do with the mental health crisis unit, which are very good statistics. And it would give us, for month number 13, it would give us a very good idea of how can we get this into the outlying areas, you know, because the 3rd district is Willis, Coble, and Laytonville, and the 4th district goes all the way to Leggett and Piercy. So it's a really weird thing. So I don't think we should do this by supervisor's district. We should do it by where the need is. And I'm certainly prepared to make a motion that we approve this core suggestion, core recommendation for 5 years, $230,000 a year. We get statistics on it, and after 1 year, it expands to where we believe, or where you, as the leader of behavioral health, believes it needs to go.
And I will say, sorry, just, you know, you did, we have had these teachers, well, we've mentioned to the chief, Chief Fry, and we want to start having conversations with him about what his needs are before making expenses and the whole, you know, kind of across the board. So, and that's something we haven't had with him, and so it's only a conversation that we like started the conversation and thinking about providing more last month and start seeing possibility there. But
So what Member Allman had suggested that visiting this after 1 year, when there's, you know, we've had some experience and information that's been gathered of what works, what doesn't, to then look at expanding beyond the current designated areas. Is that something?
yeah, I mean, we can always look at that. I just think it has to be realistic, right? We don't want, I don't want to say a program right? What we're doing is we don't actually make sure what we're putting out is going to work. So going to roadblock, I'm very transparent on that, right? We put something out, it's slightly what they call PDA, the quality assurance perspective of right. You do something and it doesn't work, you go back to the drawing board before you make a decision. You don't want to say, we're going to implement this project across the whole county, and then we realize that we failed. Right? We really have to really upset, right? We put money, the program failed. And so the idea is let's start it small, let's see what works. We're going to have to bring it back to the table internally. Hey, this didn't work. What do you want to do here? Hey, we have a situation. I've already pointed out. We have a situation where we have one student that has no. How are you going to get around that? Because if you really have the contrary to student and you have no. So what is going to be a strategy there, right? We already know that some of the jobs that are going to have to pay. There's some jobs we don't know what's going to happen. And so I'm fine with, you know, yes, we talked about when do you have to expand it? When can you expand? What does it look like? What would it cost you? That'll be time to look at what Medicon is paid versus what Medicon is paid. To really look at what are our overall costs, where we have a percent and cost. So yeah, I'm happy, you know, I think that we were all saying, hey, we're trying to look at it, and if that is things that we can look to work out and look at.
And you use that word expand the program, and I'm not thinking in those terms. I'm talking about using what you're proposing to include different areas. It's not an expansion of the program. It would still be within that measure
The
B.
program would have to contain expansion, and we can't single out Willett as the only area that will have homelessness and need it.
But you are with Ukiah.
We're saying it's starting, that's private.
I hear that. I think you're mincing words. I do. I mean, yes, it's a starting, but I don't understand why when you mentioned 7 days a week for this, why you couldn't allocate 5 days focused on Ukiah and the outlying areas and 2 on Willits. You know, yes, Laytonville and Covelo are part of the district, they're much further out. But we're talking 20 minutes up the road. Why that same team couldn't put its focus for 2 days a week on the Willits area. And see, that might be valuable information to see how the different communities, how, how successful and what works and doesn't work depending on the different communities. That could be a really good source of information instead of just homogeneous kind of. Anyway, I just, yeah, I'm not talking about expansion. I'm talking about reallocating it in a different way.
So let me ask this to the doctor. Let's say hypothetically this passes today, and we had a chronic situation in Willits in January, a homeless person with breathing issues, who's mentally ill, and you have this team up and running. Would it be available for law enforcement, because the chief of police talked about this, and the sheriff and the DA, would it be out of the norm for you to get with this court 2.0 team and say, look, I know you guys are working in Ukiah, but we have a chronic situation in Willits, we need your attention.
We do that today.
Okay,
Right?
there you go.
I mean, even though we're saying it's central to Ukiah Valley, I get called all the time to different places. We have never not gone
I
there.
know that.
I mean, we had a situation, for example, we can't bring into a code enforcement situation in a city, where they said, these individuals are probably gonna lose their housing. It's not mental health, but can you help them? Did we know what, you know, was it mental health? No, it wasn't mental health. But did we work with this family so that we could help stabilize the situation, and this has happened more than once, to see what we could do to help the family, because if they did lose their housing, they were going to be homeless, right? So, no, and will we get calls from these, no.
I know that. I've seen it.
Right, I mean, we've never said, absolutely not. If someone says, you need to leave their store, we can go there, well, thank you.
I don't know.
But we do a lot of things. We do stuff that's not even ours to do, just to help people.
I'm just playing devil's advocate here. I'm hearing all kinds of things. Fort Bragg has their crew, and we subsidize their crew. Okay. Willis doesn't have crew. Ukiah doesn't. Point Arena doesn't. Point Arena uses the sheriff's department. They don't even have their own police.
So Sarah, so if there's an issue in Pomona or Valhalla, if, so our mobile team is what it is actually Sarah,
Well,
but he will respond to that with the sheriff before the time comes.
oh, I'm
And they
sure.
don't have to.
That wasn't, no, but that wasn't the question. The question is, we already subsidize Fort Bragg financially. So the monies from Measure B are county funds that are collected throughout the county. If Fort Bragg called and said they needed core, would you be going out to core too? Because that, they would be getting theoretically double coverage. In other words, they're already getting subsidized.
I don't know that they would call us the before, they have, they call us our crisis support.
That's different.
We do crisis support, and we've done a lot of support with Sue. They're pretty good at doing it, even if they do, and when they know when there's our support, when folks do that, or I want to call it out for a crisis support. We do augment what they usually, if they need a crisis team, they need support, we will do it, but they don't, I mean, yes, I guess if they called and said we needed support for some reason, I don't know why we would do it, but they always have to be kind of doing that with the people who are off the side. But some of the things,
I know, that's why I was asking this question.
I need a clarification from Mo. So, this is the question for you, Mo. When you and Bernie came to the Mender Matters meeting, and you know, approached us on this topic, which we appreciated that, by the way, thank you. Bernie had made a statement that, and I can't quote him exactly, but that he was, there were certain employees at some of the various departments that could have been in Dr. Miller's department or others, he didn't clarify what departments, but already employees within the county that were interested in these positions, and that they were hopeful that, you could get these employees that would move around or get people. He didn't say fulfill every single one of that time, but there's already people that are interested in these positions. So that's what I heard him say. Now, Dr. Miller is saying that she start out, and it's gonna take a while to get this up and running, because you've gotta go out and recruit all these employees. So can you clarify if you already have some employees that have expressed an interest to go do this program internally, and you're not having to recruit 8 people or whatever? Can somebody expand on that, maybe both of you?
I can't, because I don't know who he was referring to. He may have talked to people that I don't know. We didn't talk to anybody together that said that, so I'm not so sure.
And I don't currently have staff that have been trained before, because all of our staff currently, they're technically have already. So for me to say, oh, I don't know how many we have, which is really not fair, because they're already very trained staff. That doesn't mean, we've been doing for the overcore and the transit, the public reaches out, Lily reaches out, hey, can you go take care of it? We've been doing that, Lily's going out of region. But those staff are already assigned to other programs, and they're just trying to put it an actual plan, or if they're going out, or if you're going out, to help out. So, but no, I don't know any staff who have said they wanted to do work, but in my department, I put at least 30 staff.
Maybe that is what he was referring to, because at that time, I think it's been like 6 months or more, maybe.
No, not that long.
Well, at that time, I think that there were people that were in behavioral health that were doing this role, and so maybe the hope was that they would want to do this, but I think that what we learned from the social services outreach team, and then also from the crisis team that was sometimes shifted to this role, is that you really have to hire people that want to do this job.
And we're not in hiring
specifically.
freeze anymore, right?
My plan, is, the plan is to go to the board at the next board meeting, and ask them to support the substitution and, to review for and to start recruiting, people for that program. So that's the plan. But the section 2, the mental health clinician, they're not a full-time position, right? So we'll use what we have in contract, and so there's some of that agreement on what they were doing. And because we have that ability, but to have the 2, the students 2, and students 2, I don't want to go ahead and do that right now. We can, we can handle it, as a thing to me, but to actually have the 2 not even on contract.
Do you believe it's reasonable to have this up and running by the first of the year?
It's possible, I think anything's possible, It depends, how the recruitments go, and if we get more, and I think the hardest thing is what I said, is oftentimes people don't want to do this job.
Right, I get it.
And, people come into mental health and things are fine, and then this is the front side of mental health. And, it's really finding the right person. You want somebody who can be empathetic and can do it before, because you can't do that and you'll fail. All of that is being said.
I have a motion on the table.
Can I, oh, sorry, go ahead.
A question, but I do have a comment. I worked with the Hope team years ago, and I saw the amazing what they did, and Denise explained one little story, and I know of so many. And to me, it's just been a travesty that you have a team working 100% with our population out there. So with Tom's recommendation, I would like second that, his motion.
Can I ask if the motion be repeated, please, as it's going to be written?
That we approve the request as presented, $230,000 a year for 5 years. And after 1 year, well, actually, after 10 months, so it would be in October next year, review it just to hopefully see if it can be, sorry Sherry, I'm going to use the word expanded into areas outside of the Ukiah Valley area.
And that's what's going down? Okay.
Can I ask for a clarification? When you say expanded into outside the Ukiah area, that doesn't mean that expanded in the sense that we would be asking, the program would need more money.
No, not at all. That's not my motion at all.
So can we use a different word than expanded? Could we say reallocated?
No, it's 800, she has, it's $860,000 a year this is going to cost.
Right.
And we're 230,000.
Right.
And I don't think it's unreasonable to use the word expand, Sherry, by saying with 860,000 and then moving it into, we're hopefully having more people working and so forth. And then in a perfect world, in year 3, we'll say, now can we move it to the coast? You know,
Well, so maybe
with
the, wo-
the same amount of money, sure.
maybe in saying expand, the area of oversight, saying, so it's not.
Increase the area of oversight
Yeah,
instead of
there you go.
expand.
That's
How's
Yeah.
that? Increase the area of
Instead
oversight.
in that way,
I gladly will change my motion to take out the word expand and put increase the area of oversight and responsibility, sure.
I would second that.
Thank you.
So I just have to say that only because I'm still thinking about it, we're talking 2 teams, 7 days a week. And I hear your compromise in a sense, not a compromise,
It's a realistic motion, because I know how hard it is to hire people too.
but this isn't, what I'm suggesting doesn't involve hiring.
She's already said
more
if we have an
people.
extreme case, she'll answer the phone and she'll say yes.
How is someone gonna contact you about it? But this, but that's totally different than the core team going out and doing outreach into the community. That's totally different. I mean, yeah, they're like
so
apples
we
and
have
oranges.
a motion on the floor, and it's been seconded to,
But you can talk, I mean, I want to hear what you can.
Well, I just said, 2 teams, 7 days a week, that's 14 days of work. 14 days for 2 teams. And it, I, no, I thought the 2 teams were 2 teams of 2 people. Right, right. But those 2 teams of 2 people don't go out together. 1 team of 2 people. So, yeah, so we're talking 14 days of team allocation. It just seems so doable to say one team will focus on Ukiah and surrounding areas all 7 days. The other team will focus on Ukiah 4 out of the 7, and 3 of the 7 will be in the works.
they don't work at the same time. The teams, you,
Well, okay, then I'm totally confused about that. They work 5 days a week, yes?
Their office. I think once they take a big bite out of the apple and take care of the chronic unhoused, we're going to see them being able to spend more time with the almost chronic unhoused. If you gave the sheriff and the chief of police a piece of paper, they could all write down 20 names of chronic unhoused in our county. Now you're talking about people who are potentially unhoused. So what if in a magical world we took care of those chronically unhoused, then we have time to work on the almost chronic. This is a perfect situation.
Yeah. So let me ask you, so let me ask you this, is this a possibility? We get this navigation center up and running. It'll probably be through the Willis Shelter Action Group. It'll be 4 hours a day. People are coming into that center for and there'll be a case manager, all sorts of reasons they come in. Is it possible for the case manager from that navigation center to call for assistance with the teams? Yeah, and it's totally different though than the teams going into the community, as I mentioned, and
it sounds like this is a movable, situation, it's not locked in cement.
If we're on discussion before the vote, I have to tell you that based upon the motion, I'm gonna vote no, and let me tell you why. First of all, I'll be the first one to jump up and say we've got homeless problems in our county, including Willard, okay? And, haven't been happy with things the way they've been going, and, our group has been very vocal about it. I appreciate this program. I think it's a good program, but like anything, I look at it from a business standpoint. I look at this as I was running this business, that I would expect not about 5 years to know if this was making sense for me or not. So what I'm opposed to is a 5-year plan that doesn't have accountability. What could come with accountability is, transparency, because this is taxpayers' dollars, I don't care how you look at it, it's a lot of money. And already the public thinks that we are there's a homeless industrial complex, which I kind of agree with. So in order to have anything be successful, I get behind it, but I'm not good with the 5 years without some accountability and transparency, and that may look like that after year 3, you provide documentation back to this group that says, here's where we're at on all these aspects, and we say we go forward, or year 4, but to go out 5 years, that's where I draw the line, and my group feels the same way. But where it may not be big enough for what I think that for the money that's being spent, and there was no teeth in it to claw it back, because you're still gonna go out 5 years with the motion the way that it is. So I just wanna go on record that the reason I would vote no today is only because of the 5 years. And I think just having a report monthly is not allowing us to be able to say, hey, this just isn't making sense with your monthly reports, and we've been doing this 3 years, 4 years, maybe we should think different about it. So I don't know how we go and back to the drawing table in year 4 and say, I make a motion, we should get rid of this, and because it's not working, or it's not as successful for the monies that we're spending, maybe it should be done something different. So anyway, I just want to go on record of my thoughts on this.
Okay. Is there any more discussion?
Can we hear the motion one last time?
Yeah, please, Cody.
Motion to approve request as presented, $230,000 for 5 years with, after 10 months review to hopefully increase the area of oversight into areas outside Ukiah Valley.
Okay. That was okay by you also, Mary? Okay. All right. So I think we've discussed this. I think it's time to call for a vote. And can we do this by roll call, please?
Yes. Okay. Member Allman?
Aye.
Let's see. Member Baresh. Chair Bradley?
Yes?
Member Abiam?
Yes.
Member Miller?
Yes.
Member Muschetti?
Yes.
Member Pierce?
Yes.
Member Ramos?
Yes.
Member Val?
No.
Member Williford?
Yes.
Okay.
So it
passes with one decline. All righty. Thanks, Mo. All righty, so moving forward. Okay. So, update and discussion on the psychiatric health facility. Okay, you're on, again.
A little farther away from that mic. Hi, my name is Doug Anderson. I'm with the County Facilities Department, the Capital Projects Manager in charge of the development and building of the psychiatric health facility. And I apologize that I was unable to make the meeting in May. You got a abbreviated report, so as of today, we've experienced quite a few delays, and I believe that most of those issues have been resolved. The cumulative impact of some of these issues means that our completion isn't as we had indicated the last time. We were talking about August last time. At this point, it appears as though the construction activities should be wrapping up in the next week or two, by around the 1st of September. The obligation to get this turned over and ready for occupancy involves quite a bit of commissioning, verification of systems, punch list, and inspections by architects, engineers, fire marshal, the building official. So I'm anticipating another 6 weeks of that work to make sure that all the I's are dotted, T's are crossed. We get a certificate of occupancy from the building official, which would put us close to the end of October, and that's our current projections. We still have variables as we get to the end. Some rejection might come up. It takes time to resolve, but that's what we're projecting right now. That would give RestPad an opportunity to occupy somewhere near the end of October, and then they begin the licensing process through the Department of Healthcare Services to get the project licensed. So what we've identified a number of these issues that have caused delay, but in addition to understanding why things happen, all of our contract partners, the architects, the engineers, the inspectors, everybody has been on this project now going on 8 or 9 months beyond the original completion time. They have expenses associated with that, and so what we're doing is negotiating with each of these parties to try to assign responsibility from the folks that were responsible for some of these delays and mitigating their own costs to the extent possible. And it's kind of a complex negotiation now to work through with each of these partners to try to make the best deal we can for the county and for Measure B, and how these these final resolution of the impacts and costs of these delays are. So that process is going to continue beyond the completion as we sort out what the actual final costs are and who's going to be paying for what, or how much we're going to be paying each of these partners as we close out their contracts. A quick rundown of just the types of and the different issues that have impacted. We have some high soil moisture content on the site. We encountered that at the beginning. We're encountering some residual effects of that here at the end. There was a lack of coordination with PG&E when we, did our initial application with them, and so we had a PG&E delay that extended the time, quite a few months. There was some design coordination issues that led to some delays with the electrical system and the generator and some other things. The contractor had some serious coordination problems and didn't get things sequenced correctly and had to do work backwards and forwards. So the contractor is certainly responsible for some of these delays. And then the chronic problem with construction around here and pretty much everywhere is just being able to get enough subcontractor staffing to show up at the same kind of issues that many businesses have with staffing is, if the contractor doesn't have enough people, they show up with 4 instead of 6 people, or will be here Wednesday, but they don't show up till the next Monday. All that leads to delays, and that's another major impact in the schedule. From the overall cost impact side, at this point, I'm estimating the undisputed cost of the project at about $19.2 million, including all of the county time, the staffing for the architect, engineer, our inspectors, our construction managers, and of course the contractor. We do have, I'm looking at a range of between $400,000 and $800,000 to resolve these cumulative issues of the cost. Between $400,000 and $800,000. I think the maximum is going to be about $800,000. That still keeps the overall project under the $20 million budget we set out after we got bids. And I certainly expect that to be somewhere between those. But we have these are the unresolved claims and issues. So the cost for the contractor of the extra time they're here is a dispute we're having with them. They say one thing, we say another, right? And so these are all, we're working out analysis and, hopefully get to settlements with these people. Obviously, the goal is to keep this thing out of court and get these things settled and resolved. But, we're in the middle of those negotiations. It's hard to know, where it's gonna end up. So, so that's the kind of the cost projection that I'm looking at now. And I've presented this previously, but from early on, our projected budget for this project was about $22 million when we went into the initial design process. We got that down to about $21 million, before we went out to bid. The bids came in much lower than we anticipated, so we brought that estimate down to $20 million for the project budget. I had been optimistic at the beginning that we would be able to complete this closer to $19 million, but we're already beyond that point. So that's pretty much the recap of where we're at today, and I am happy to help people understand more about what's going on with any questions people have.
I just have I have a question. I had heard that the problem with PG&E was that PG&E had ordered the wrong size circuit for the electrical use. Having worked for a utility and know that they do these things intentionally and then fix them later, is that wasn't PG&E. The question that I've got is, if this is indeed a PG&E question and that it was PG&E's fault, are they going to eat that? They're a huge utility, and if they can't fulfill an order correctly, then I don't think the county should have to eat that.
So the primary PG&E issue was essentially a communication issue, like many are. The initial size of the equipment we included in our initial application with PG&E was smaller than the size of the equipment that was delivered and approved by the design team. And obviously our team had an obligation to get that updated information to PG&E. So the resolution to the problem was a modest, I think about $12,000 of changes to the equipment they were able to do to prevent them from having to re-engineer and start over with a different transformer system. That did take a lot of time, but there wasn't a huge cost impact initially with the change that we ended up having to make.
Thank you. And this is for both of you. So certainly, you remember it was going to originally be open February of 2025, and then January of 2026, and now we're all realistic, and we're going to say January 2027. Only because we're used to the delay. It's not your fault, Doug. Whether it's not Lewis, whether it's the contractor, I mean, there's blame to go around to a lot of people who came into the county and got paid a lot of money. Here's my question. The licensing, you said, couldn't start until ResPad occupies towards the end of October, and the certificate of occupancy from the state of Iron Ore, so was obviously very, very important. Can those not start at the completion of the construction within a week or so? So there's no more delays that we have a perfectly good psychiatrical facility with empty that's sitting there on South End side. So how can we use our facility for? That's my question.
I think Westside could start, if we get a temporary occupancy cert, Westside could start moving the stuff in earlier, but if we aren't able to get that, then we would have to next to get the occupancy cert to start moving stuff in, and then they have to be, what the state says is that you have to wait till the facility's up and ready to go before you issue, put in your licensing packet, because they could come in out at,
Wait, this has to be up and running before we get licensed?
it has to be up, completely constructed, ready for operation.
Oh, ready for operation.
Before you submit your stuff. And so we've been trying to look at that date to see what date can they submit the stuff. And what the state says is like, if you submitted it on, let's say Tuesday, and we decided for some reason, which I guess it never happened, the state would come out Friday, and we didn't have everything moved in, and we weren't 100% meeting certification, they would take the fine. And then they have to be charged back, and then that's about the day that the event was open. So they're really trying to play that, make sure the facility's ready to go, submit their application. But the state says it generally takes 3 to 6 months.
For what?
To get the licensing certified in the state. So that's the state's timeline. So what we're hoping is us to have to double check with also the state, but we're hoping 90 days from the date that they're able to start. But when it gets into the rest of that, they're hoping that we can be open in 90 days.
So that's November, December, into January.
He has hired a clinical director, James Berry, and he comes with 25 years of experience in the psychiatric health facility spectrum, and so they're starting to get all their ducks in a row, and really making all the facility so that once they get clearance, they can start moving everything in and put the paperwork in place.
Yeah, I mean, we have all of the furniture and fixtures, equipment ordered. Most of the bigger equipment, or the bigger, the beds and furniture is coming first part of October. And there certainly will be some opportunity to overlap some of those, moving equipment in, different pieces of it that can happen prior to occupancy, but until they can actually, there's no more contractors coming in and showing up to fix and take care of the last few things. They can't really push into, but yeah, we'll be certainly working with them to figure out what they can do and when, and how soon that they can start different aspects of their rollout and occupancy.
And we will try to push on the state to see how quickly they can issue the private sector office or paperwork. But it, you know, it's up to the state. We have no control at that point. What we will do is best implement. They have said that with the chip grants and stuff like that, they were going to start prioritizing those programs. So we're going to remind them.
So try to what, prioritize?
Prioritize those programs in certain.
When you talk about they, who is they?
The state.
The state?
State licensing.
Department of Health Care Services.
Yes, certification and licensing. So yeah, they have said that those facilities are gonna try to make sure they, you know, staff and prioritize those. So we're gonna try to remind them that, people need to keep following up and going as soon as possible. And there's a lot of push at the state to get, facilities up and going, so I'm hopeful that, you know, we have done maybe that end of the year and then I can get it done, but, I'm hopeful.
So how long do, we have a brand new building. Does it come with a 5-year warranty? What comes, I mean, when things break in 18 months, what happens?
So the basic construction industry warranty is a 12-month, 1-year warranty for basically anything and everything. And beyond that, there's, you know, much of the major equipment and you know, mechanical
Or
generator.
roofs and walls and things like that?
It's 1 year.
It's from, if there's something that's defective that is not seen or visible, it's from the time it's discovered. So if something's, if you couldn't see something, you have discovery as going into the property, you can see if there's a problem, and you have a year to address it. But if there was something that was hidden, or you couldn't conceivably see, it's behind the wall, something they did wrong, or it's under the floor, or something like that, the law allows you to go back on them further than 1 year from discovery, just FYI.
Okay. I mean, there's also, I mean, if there's a deficiency or a, I don't know what the term is, the legal term, but they're liable for things that happen if there were deficient construction that caused the problem later,
Yeah.
and they can be held liable, but it's not the same as a
Starts
warranty.
next week, or when the certificate of occupancy?
With, well, the term is substantial occupancy, so when the building official issues the notice of completion, or the certificate of occupancy is our certificate. And we don't have the state fire marshal, unlike our sheriff in the jail over there. We have the local fire department or fire authority, so that's our report.
The sheriff's sticking around for when Doug's done. He's going to give us a 3-minute update on the mental health wing of the correctional facility.
Okay.
Of where we are.
The next question I had regarding all this in the occupancy, don't run off, Doug. I think I know the answer, but we're looking at the certificate of occupancy, and this would be for rest pad for the hospital. At that point, NAMI could move into their offices.
Correct.
They,
As soon as they're created about the certificate of occupancy, Mommy can move in. I'll send her so that Mommy can move in. It's just that, the license is the independent, and this will be,
to the hospital. Right.
Okay.
So they, and as soon as the certificate of occupancy happens, then we had been discussing having meetings in the conference room or having a meeting in the conference room. Or in the lobby. Right. But we have to still wait for the certificate of occupancy. Okay. Thank you. Does anybody else have any more questions for Doug? Been in the hot seat now so many times. Okay. So can we let Doug go? Can he go running, screaming out of the building?
No, I want to hear what
Oh, you.
Sheriff Kendall has to say now.
Okay, so
jail. We're also looking at a little bit of an extended timeline. I don't think October is realistic. The end of October may be realistic, but it's going to be more like November-ish. We are up against some issues in there where we've been running into problems with the heat pump that was installed. For some reason, the heat pump is having an issue anytime that our generator is cycled. Strangely, it doesn't happen when the generator is cycled. It happens, Doug, and if you could help me on this one, 30 to 40 minutes or an hour after the generator is cycled, the heat pump is having some issues. And so there is a ghost in that. So these are the things that we're chasing down. We're also seeing some strange flickering in some of the lights, but the lights that were put in there are extremely high efficiency. They aren't the old incandescent bulbs that burn a load of power, but because there is so much more technology in them, there are also areas that are much greater for failure points. So we're working on those as well. There was some cracking in the floors that we've addressed. There's also some issues that we're dealing with the Board of State and Community Corrections. BSCC's inspections came along, and a lot of the furniture in the interview rooms and things like that were fine 4 years ago. The BSCC is now saying those are ligature points because the goalpost keeps changing on some of these things. I'm not kidding here. We have overflow sensors in toilets that basically they look like a very round small piece of equipment that is installed inside of a toilet is actually welded in there. And those overflow sensors have now been deemed to be ligature points. I'm not kidding on this. And so we've had to hire a welder to come in and weld some type of a slippery surface over the top of it so somebody could not tie something off to hang themselves with it from a toilet. But you have to remember that all of these things that are being brought up was because there has been something bad that happened someplace else because of them. And if we know that they are a problem and we don't address it, then that's our fault.
Well, rules were made for those who already broke them.
Exactly. Exactly. But at the same time, we're very hopeful that we've gone into some contracts now and getting ready to sign with the Department of State Hospitals, and that's going to be super helpful for us to pay for some of the staffing that's in there because we're looking at a huge increase in staffing, and with different contracts that we've gone into or are working our way into right now, just waiting for signatures, almost 50%, or actually I think right at 50% of our personnel that will be working in there will be paid for by things other than the general fund. The JBCT program and various other things are going to pay for two corrections deputies and one corrections sergeant. But those gentlemen and ladies are going to be assigned specifically to that program because they do have some deliverables that we're going to have to meet to get those contracts. And so we're assigning specific people to them to make sure that we can meet what those contract requirements are. Doug, the flickering on the lights and various other things, that's just bugs that are general to work out, right?
Yeah, that's contract going through there. Apparently it's in the full panel.
Yeah. And so those little things that keep popping up, we're continuing to work with the county, with the contractors, and with the design architects. We have to change some furniture because we had one room that turned out smaller than what was actually drawn in the plans. And so we have to change the furniture in there to be able to fit things in. We weren't happy about it, and we're having a little head-banging contest with them, but eventually we've got to meet in the middle or, all of us are going to wind up with headaches. Anything else on that? I think that's about all we've got to report out on. The good news is our numbers are coming up rapidly in the corrections division so that when we get ready to have this move, what's that? Yeah. Our inmate numbers are actually down, but that's not a good thing either. Our resident numbers are actually down, and a lot of it is because of different pieces of legislation that has come through, and it's not good for public safety. When we have somebody in for a very, very short amount of time, I was speaking with our restorative justice coordinator, and I said, if I had a magic wand and I could wave it over, and what would you like to see me fix? And what she said was, these people who come in for 24 hours and then are immediately turned loose, they aren't in the right headspace to make changes. I need these folks for 2 weeks to 21 days in custody before they even begin thinking about, I want to make changes. And us turning them loose almost immediately, that's not good for anyone. And it's certainly not good for them. There's some belief out there that every county jail is Shawshank State Prison, and that is not true. We have a lot of programs and a lot of good things for people who come in the door, and we've got to wait for them to get in the right headspace before they're even willing or able to take advantage of that. And if we don't keep them for 2 weeks to 21 days, some of these folks, especially when they're in the throes of addiction, they aren't even cleaned up in 2 weeks. And so when we get these folks clean, that's when we begin to see people saying, I'd really kind of like to make a change. Carrie?
There was Dr. Fiction or rumor that did you get some deputies from the police department?
Have I hired some?
Did anybody come from the Ukiah PD over to your office?
Yeah, I think I picked up, I picked up 3 from the Ukiah Police Department in the last few months, and I picked up 1 previously from there. And then, and 3 very experienced, good people. But, you know, believe it or not, in Mendocino County, we tend to trade deputies and police officers around a little bit.
Was Jason one of them, Captain?
Yes. Jason came over to us as a lieutenant, and we picked up a couple of other guys. They were, you know, good, experienced police officers, good guys. And then we picked up a few from Lake County. We picked up a few from here and there, but that happens constantly. And eventually, this circuit completes itself, and Ukiah PD will take some from me, and Fort Bragg PD will take some from Willits. I mean, it's just, it's like...
Is there a benefit to the officers to do this? I'm just curious. Do they get...
Well, yeah, they get to work for me if they come over.
No, I'm talking about on their pension or something that they're getting. Is there benefits to jumping around like this?
No, sometimes people find a better fit in areas that offer different things. We have very robust detective division, and a lot of folks want to come over and work homicides and work some pretty serious crimes. We have people who want to go over to police departments and go into their detective bureau because they enjoy working property crimes. And believe it or not, I mean, their detectives are good detectives, but they concentrate on the issues that they have, and a lot of that is property crimes and white-collar crimes and scamming and things like that. And there are some detectives, that's their bread and butter. They enjoy working that, and that's what they will go do. Different opportunities. Some people like to work where there's a lot of street lights and a lot of cover. Some people do not. And it's just, you know, what folks like for themselves. And the other thing is, it depends on, if you're a married man, there's a lot of things that, or a married woman, there's a lot of things that come into play when your spouse says, you know, I think that this would be important for us. And so, you know, we're all kind of weighing out the benefits and the non-benefits. But, you know, our numbers are increasing, and it's not just us, it's also across the state. We've had a lot of sheriffs in smaller and more rural communities who are having a huge influx in their numbers right now because people have gone down to the cities and whatnot and decided that they did not like it. It wasn't good for their family, it wasn't good for their home life, and so I know a lot of sheriffs that are experiencing some good hiring right now because people just want to be in these more rural areas. Any other questions on the bill to the behavioral health lane? All right. Thanks for having me. We'll see you folks.
Thank you. Just in veterinary medicine, it's same thing. You just go around in circles and specialties, and they get tired and they move to the next one. Saw it all the time. Did it myself. Thanks, Sheriff County. Okay. So we have this place till 3. Can we keep going? Okay.
Well, you're looking, I just wanted to tell you, I looked up on AI. The statute of limitations for the workers' contract was
so,
next item and then bring it back? Okay, okay.
I'm going to need to leave in the next, like, 10.
okay. Okay, so,
Okay, so on this item, 3H, I was asked to bring back the prior GSA director's life cycle cost analysis. It's attached. I cannot speak to it, but I do believe, looking at it, these values are significantly understated. Um, as an example, if we look at the psychiatric health facility, replacement of a roof after 20 years totals is under only $145,000. That is significantly understated. So for instance, the county replaced our ag roof in 2024, I believe it was, or 2023. It was a 7,000 square foot building, and the price was around $420,000. So knowing the PUF is about a little over 13,000 square feet, to replace a roof, we would be looking at close to $1 million. So I brought this back. I really can't speak to it, but I think these numbers are extremely understated.
you're talking the ones from Janelle Rouse?
Yes.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay.
So then I think I have the next item. I have the rest. Okay, so I'll try to.
So are there any questions on this item that we just went through?
We're going to end up having to put on an agenda to talk about when we have a deep conversation about the finances. We could be here at 6 o'clock talking about it, but I think Sherry was the one who brought it up because of the. I'm sorry, Sherry was the one who brought it up because of our maintenance and our the savings that we've been able to save. Put aside the contingency funds. So I think that we're going to end up having to put this on the agenda
In the future?
in the future. I'm not saying for next time, but in the future to talk. When we're going to have a full financial meeting. That's it. Because now
And that's all it'll be.
now that the brick and mortar is almost completed, remember 25% of what we're getting now.
That's this next item.
That's the
Okay.
next item.
All right,
Stop.
the next
No,
item.
yeah, it's just the next item. Okay, we're going to 3I, the discussion and recommendation regarding Measure B tax measure funding, allocation maximum of 75% and 25% for, 75% for brick and mortar, 25% for services. And I'm going to leave that one up to you.
So last meeting I was asked to bring back like what the county's reserve policy is in comparison to the Municipal Reserve, which is the next item. But I wanted to have a discussion on that. I think this committee needs to recommend to the Board of Supervisors what our maximum we want to set aside for facilities. So the original tax measure had stated that for the first 5 years, a maximum of 75% of all revenue will be devoted to facilities, and not less than 25% will be dedicated to services and treatment. And then after, all revenue will be assigned for ongoing operations. So because it doesn't say 75% a maximum, it says, I think this board needs to recommend, or my recommendation would be that this board recommends to the Board of Supervisors that we take advantage of that whole 75%. And if we did that, I'm looking at information from fiscal year 2017, 2018 when the measure was implemented, to 22, 23 when the 5 years ended. So there was a total of 48 million, a little over 48 million that came in. 75% of that was 36 million. There was about 960,000 of interest that was added. So if you back out all of the facility expenses that were through June 30th of 25, it would have left like a facility reserve at $24 million. I believe there's about $2 million of expenses related to facility in 25, 26 that we're still closing. So that will come out of that 24 million. So I think my recommendation to this committee is that we would recommend to the Board of Supervisors that we ultimately set up a facility reserve at the full 75% and put that remaining balance 22 to 24 million in that. We can have the
Wait,
conversation.
can you say that once more?
So my recommendation to this committee would be, we would recommend to the Board of Supervisors that the full 75% be allocated for facility needs, which means that we would then allocate roughly somewhere around $20 million as of June 30th of 26 into a reserve that is specific for facilities, not operating. Ongoing maintenance costs, like the general maintenance costs, would come out of operating, but this would be for true facility maintenance or facility upkeep and infrastructure in the future.
I think it's brilliant.
Yeah.
So that if we, we can ask any questions on that one before we go to the next item, which is the reserve policy.
Well, we're gonna have to vote on this one.
Are you moving? No, I would like to, it's my item, so you make the movement.
Wait, this is the first time I've seen this. And are we planning on making a motion on this?
Yeah.
today?
Yes.
Oh, boy.
But just remember, Sherry, we don't spend any dollars here. We do not have the ability to
No,
spend a
I
single.
get that.
It's
I
a
know
board,
that.
and
It's a
we're just making the recommendation.
Yes, but, okay. So I'm working off of this that Tony sends out monthly. And right now, according to this, the reserve at the end of 24-25 was 12.3 million. Funds not allocated at the end of 24-5 were about 24 million. So there's a total of about 36 million.
Correct. So that's the next agenda item. So in order to talk about the full reserve, we need to understand or have a recommendation of what percentage we want to go to facilities. Yeah, and remember that there's no more money going to facilities. No more money.
What does that mean?
All we're getting
We're
is
not-
interest. So for the first 5 years of the,
I know, it was a 0.5% sales tax, yeah.
right, for 5 years, 75% of that, up to 75% went to facilities. Now, that 8 to 10% tax that we get,
Right.
none of it goes to facilities. So facilities is done. So after 22-23, nothing's been funding the facilities bucket, basically.
But we don't, okay. This is a lot that,
Well, just put in perspective, if
No.
you own your house or
no,
building,
it's
you've
not
gotta
that,
have
it's the
reserves.
numbers, not being able to sit and work with the numbers. I get that, yeah, after it's brought to an 8%, none of that goes to facilities. But we don't have any further planning to build facilities either.
I know, but we don't have
No,
a
but
funding
we-
stream to pay for future upgrades like a new roof or anything.
Right,
This is what, this
right,
is
but
the,
24 mil, you're talking about setting aside 24 million.
Because it's prevailing wages.
No, hold on, 24 million, does that include, that 24 million, that includes what we've already spent on facilities to build them? No.
to last as long as possible. And if we need funds to fix a septic system or, or things that are unheard of, where do you do that? Do you do that in your own home? I always like to keep a reserve. I had an inn. God knows what happens when things happen. So at this point, I don't want less than 75% of whatever is left to not be able to be used. It shouldn't go to services because we're going to be doing services till the cows come home. But we need the buildings to stand, and we need to be able to have every penny used for that. That can be. over 20.
We can't fund it anymore. This is where, yeah, we did.
In
And,
perpetuity.
the measure on the ballot said we couldn't spend
No,
more
I
than
know that.
25%.
I know, yeah. More than 75 and not less than 25. That's what it said.
But
So-
if we don't hold enough reserves and we have catastrophe or some big expenses or even normal expenses under prevailing wages, then we're gonna be in a trouble that we're out of money. And so we go
Right.
back to the public and say,
Right.
hey, we wanna go increase your tax
And
again.
this is all outside of the reserve. Yes, all this money?
No,
That's
no,
not
no,
very
that's
much.
In the reserve.
The reserve is, we would have to, and that's the next item, we would
Right.
have to reallocate some of the reserve, so it's not taking,
So how much would we have?
that's the next item.
I know, but they're connected, so,
I get that they're connected, but,
So
in
how
order to
much-
have the conversation, we have to have an understanding of what the percentage is.
yes, but to make an actual vote saying, yes, we're gonna allocate this amount of money, 75% to facilities, when that means that it, or it involves taking X million away out of the reserve, that affects, I know that affects my thinking. If we had 12 million in the reserve, for example, and it meant taking 10 out of the 12 of the reserve into this, I might think differently. If it meant taking 2 million out of the reserve, I'd think differently. That's why I need to know how much out of the reserve are we talking about to get to this 75%.
So, and you're probably talking maybe out of line, but, as with this government and everything, this has to be approved or not approved, so we can move on to where our reserves are based on. And as Commissioner Allen stated, pretty much most people read it as 75/25. People who read the small print read up to and not more than.
Yeah. So can we do the reserve first and then come back?
No.
This drives the reserve.
This drives
conversation.
the reserve.
That's why I had to break it out, because to have the full reserve conversation, we have to agree upon a percentage to use.
And I think we would be very short-sighted to do less than 75%, knowing what, number one, we're talking prevailing wage, but cost of lumber, cost of everything. And I think even 22 million is a very low figure for what we're talking about. And we're talking about all three buildings. We're not talking about the substation. We're talking about all three buildings, and I would take the sheriff's office would have to be taking care of the substation.
Well, I want to weigh in on this and say, Sherry, this is not a one-way road. Just because we vote today, in 10 years from now, if there was a huge situation of mental health where the board said we're going to use some of this for services, on a 4/5 vote, not 3/5, but on a 4/5 vote, they can take money out of reserves and use it. They cannot take this money out and use it for anything else other than mental health. So I understand you're a very cautious person. I've gotten to know you the last 4 or 5 years. But in this situation, nobody's making a recommendation to spend $1. All we're doing is putting it into a different savings account.
Well, no, we are making a recommendation, because if we have to take a sizable portion out of reserve in order to meet this 75% threshold, that money taken out of the reserve can't be used for
So
services.
with Measure B, what we filled, the reserves were, if our buildings were going to cost a lot more than we thought they were. That's what the whole purpose of reserve was. And we're not getting to the end of Measure B, but we're getting to the next chapter of Measure B, where our reserves are going to be called something else, because we don't need reserves now. It's just going to be for ongoing care of, the 25 or the 0.8%. The other money is going to be used for maintenance of our building.
No, I get that, but what it does is it ties our hands
there any more discussion? Okay. Cody, could you please call the vote?
Member Alman?
Yeah, aye.
Member Barish is not here. Chair Bradley?
Yes?
Member Ippium? Member Miller? Member Moschetti?
Yes.
Member Pierce? Member Ramos?
She had to leave.
Member Va?
Yes.
Member Williford? Okay.
And passes with one no vote and one, I guess that would be an abstention.
So we're gonna try to keep this next item. Okay. So, the next item is the discussion on the reserve. So once again, I was asked to bring back, like what the county does. The county policy is at the back of the, agenda for reference. It's our policy 32. And so what I have here is basically a recommended policy that this committee should recommend to the Board of Supervisors. So I do want to say that our current reserve policy, off of the Government Finance Officers Association, GFOA, is significantly under the percentage threshold. Their recommendation is that we should have 2 months for 16.667% set aside for reserves in general. So our 6%, I think it's 6.8 or 6.3, is significantly under standard. So with that, and with the county's reserve policy for our general fund, I've kind of proposed that we break out, we basically take our prudent reserve, zero it out, and reallocate it into 3 different kind of reserves. The first reserve would be like a rainy day fund. The second day would be this infrastructure fund, which would be the 20 million that we just discussed. And then the next reserve would be a systems reserve. And the systems reserve funds are like electronic health records, which can be very costly to replace if we were to have to. So the recommendation would be that we would set aside 20% of the budgeted revenue for a rainy day fund, the infrastructure we just spoke about, and then systems 5%. What that would look like on the June 30th of 25 fund balance. So the total fund balance was 41,967,000 at the end of June 2025. That would be made up of the rainy day reserve at 3.5 million, the infrastructure reserve at almost 25 million, a systems reserve at 867,000, the prudent reserve would be zero, and then the restricted fund balance would basically be the remaining 12 million that could be utilized kind of as seen fit by this board for operations. Yeah, so you would still have almost 13 million set aside or available for ongoing operations that you could pull from. And there is an outline of the policy that does go through proposals of reserve targets, minimum reserves, how the board would withdraw these funds, and then administrative and reporting. So I'm not going to read through the entire policy. I mean, there are, suggestions that we could do different percentages. These do not have minimum thresholds, and they don't have maximum thresholds in each of these reserves. So I'm just open for discussion.
Where did the 41.9 million total come from?
That was the total fund balance at the end of June 30, 2025. So it was your prudent reserve of 12 million plus the 30 that you talked about earlier.
I do want to comment on the restricted fund balance of 12 million. You said it could help with ongoing. It can't, because Measure B clearly says it cannot supplant any behavioral health costs. So just be careful with the word on, or it could help with ongoing costs, because if behavioral health was out of whack $5 million, the board couldn't say, well, we're going to take it out of the prudent reserve or the restricted fund balance, because Measure B would not allow that.
No, oh, sorry, not mental health. It would be whatever the services are that Measure B is providing.
Okay, thank you. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
So that
So that needs to be
41,967, that number is the sum of those numbers above,
Yes.
yes? All those different reserve things.
when I look at this, which I'm more familiar with, when I look at the, total of the, total reserve at the end of 24-5, it's about 13 million. Funds not allocated is about 23, 24. Together, they are 36 million.
Where's your,
This is from what Tony sends out, August.
Are we talking about, is that August of '26?
Yeah,
Is it talking about the same numbers? Could, what,
Hers is
what, 20 is,
I'm using June 30th of 2025, because that's the last audited fiscal year.
we're,
Mine are more current numbers, and they're hers that has the census and residents, so it's separate. So
Oh.
there's costs this year that are not within her numbers, the costs this year are not within her, not in Sarah's numbers, but you're going to see the cost in your numbers because what Andy's presenting.
yeah, no, I get that. So if I kind of extrapolate here, if your total, I don't mean it personally,
No, no.
okay? If what you got was 40, right around 42 million, right? 41.9 for those fund balances, 42 million. What Tony's got here a year later is 36 million.
Andy.
I keep calling you Tony. I don't know why.
Let's take it the guy's name, it's the same thing.
You
I
know,
get
it's
that
the
too.
I at the end that throws me. Okay, so if Andy's total here is 36 million, that's a difference of $6 million. Yes? Between this total, 36,
And facilities alone in 25, 26, which is not in my numbers, was $6 million alone for facility costs.
okay.
So,
Okay, so let me just finish with where I'm going with this. So the difference is 6 million. So if we were to approve this allocation, it would cut into this Andy's bottom line by 6 million.
it would completely relook at how that looks. It would reallocate the entire prudent reserve into these three reserves.
Because it's the percentage.
and do the percentages.
Uh-huh.
You take the 36 million and allocate 42 million. So where's the other 6 million?
No, you're not getting it.
You take that number here, your 36 million times 75%, and that's what the reserve funds.
This is a hypothetical
Yeah.
from 24-25, so it doesn't have all the costs in it. Your number has the cost paid and everything.
Right.
This does not have the cost paid. This is like very too much to add and maybe a hypothetical, which is really focusing on is the 20 to 75 cost. So if you look at those buckets, the 36 and then we allocated it to the buckets, you would see that.
So, but I see what Sherry's coming from. If we would have just stuck with what the numbers are today and
Yeah.
went off that, it would have been easier for her to think about it, so I
mean,
get
I can bring that
I
back,
get what
but,
you're saying.
It's not audited, so those aren't
Yeah.
100%
No,
numbers.
I understand that, and.
So, and
Andy-
Sarah's going by the audited
I know, I
numbers.
get that. And
Okay.
Andy's mentioned earlier, they're working on closing the fiscal year, so,
Right.
But it's gonna be a percentage on whatever this fiscal year ends up being or whatever it is, right? Won't be based on last year.
No, the one thing that would be would not change is that 24 million. So I'm not gonna take 75% of this year's, because that
Yes.
75% is
Done.
It's
on the
gone.
first 5 years. But it would be taking 20% of like the operating revenues, and then 5% to put them in these different reserves, and then the remaining would be in that unrestricted, or in the restricted fund balance,
Got
which
it.
could be utilized for Measure B services.
The thing that might make it easier is you didn't put the percentages next to the numbers. You told us the percentages.
They're right here.
Oh, hello. Okay, I'm sorry.
I was in government 40 years. I've never had a discussion over having too much money. This is a very pleasant discussion right now.
Well, that means we did measure B right.
The author was a genius.
Uh-huh.
Well, I've had questions about that. He's pretty smart. Genius, I don't know.
All right, guys.
so if
you, 24,000,000, 3.5 million, and 867,000, you said. Let's say round it to 1,000,000. So 24, 25, that's 28.5 million for these three reserves. Yes, 28.5 million?
Yes, close.
Okay, and according to Andy's, pretty good, huh, Andy? According to Andy's balance right now, we've got about 30, well, we've got 12, but we've got 24 unallocated.
Yeah, and that's what that's what part of this 12 million is unallocated. That's your unallocated.
So, oh, and that's part of the four, okay. Let me just finish my thinking here. So, those three, the rainy day infrastructure and systems, add up to about 28.5. Right now, we've got 36 between reserves and unallocated, according to Andy's numbers. Okay? Right, 36. And I'm going back again, saying it again, these add up to 28.5. So if you took 28.5 from 36, it would leave a restricted fund balance of 7.5 as opposed to the 12.6. That's, yeah, do you follow that?
Not fully, but go ahead.
So, okay, no, I really want you to be on the page with it. So when you add these up, if I add up the rainy day infrastructure and systems, they add up to 28.5 mil.
Okay, yeah,
Okay? Tony's, I'm sorry, Andy's, add up to, her reserve and unallocated add up to 36 million.
Yeah, but you're adding the unallocated.
Yes.
The unallocated for me is 12. So you can't compare your 30. You can't compare the unallocated.
Well, that's what, but well, okay, it's the same problem, because Andy's adds up to 36, this adds up to 42, we're short 6 million.
Because it's different years. This is on 20, this includes current year data.
Yes, but if we use, yes, I get that, but if we use, are we talking, we're not talking about allocating these exact amounts today, yes?
If we were to have used these percentages at the end of 24-25 fiscal year,
That's what
that's
they
what
would
this
have
would
been.
look like.
Right.
It does not include 25-26 that has not been audited yet.
Okay, so if we use 25, 26.
I don't have those numbers.
No, I know, but these are the best numbers we have at this point, all right, from Andy. If we use those numbers, we would have about 36 million to use. And of that, if we took the rainy day of 20%, let's see. Is that 20 of budgeted revenue? Oh, boy. Do it this way. Sure, go ahead.
Why are you looking at me? I've opened my mouth enough today.
Go ahead.
So I would like to recommend that we accept CEO Pearson's recommendation of splitting the fund into the
Okay,
three
can you be quiet for a minute?
funds, the rainy day at 20% and infrastructure at 75, and the systems at 5%.
If I may, the 75 is 75% of this first 5 years. So that
Correct.
24 will remain the same.
Correct. Yes, okay, thank you.
I'll choose it.
Okay, so what can the rainy day fund be used for?
So in the packet, it says, the rainy day fund is more restricted. It's basically, if there's an emergency that has been declared, you could pull money out of this fund. But it is meant to be there for a
systems reserve?
It's for infrastructure for your, systems, like your,
Oh, right, right.
electronic health
Health
record.
records,
Yeah.
right. And so, and then the restricted fund balance, what can that be used for?
There would be no, Measure B operations.
Even though it says restricted,
That's
it's
just
restricted to Measure B.
It's the accounting term. Yes.
Okay. Could it be used for services and programs?
Yes, that's exactly what it would, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you're creating, a rainy day reserve, wow. Huh. Well, that's interesting because when I looked at it, when I used the Kemper report, the Kemper report's quite old, and looked at how they did the reserve.
So, the county did have a, consultant come, it was
Yeah.
actually the auditor of San Francisco. We hired to, look at the county finances and get us on a roadmap, to updating our financial, system and, helping with the reserves.
Yeah.
He's the one that helped create the county reserve that we
Yeah.
implemented in March of
Yeah.
this year.
Yeah.
So the recommended policy policy that I have here is based off the one he recommended for the
Yeah.
county general fund.
Okay, because what I did, when I looked at his report and followed his numbers, which are vastly different than ours, but looked at them in terms of percentages,
Yeah. His percentages are different because the general fund operates differently, so I didn't take it one for one.
okay. Well, anyway, I came up with the number, essentially the rainy day fund, I came up with 4.3 million, which is fairly, and then I had another, reserve of 600, oh gosh, where is it? Oh, no, 200,000, so it would be, anyway, it's in the ballpark of what you're suggesting. That's what you're calling your, in a way, your rainy day reserve.
So the rainy day is the most restrictive on
Okay.
here.
Okay, all right. And like you said, it's not based on these numbers, it's based on these percentages.
It's based on last year's data, because it's what's
No,
been
no, but
audited.
as a template, as a way to calculate how much should go into
Yes.
the rainy day reserve,
Yes.
it's a percent.
Correct.
Okay. Okay.
So, yeah, real quick, just to clarify
Yeah.
something, so you got the maintenance reserve, 75%, but what happens, give me an example of the rainy day fund, how it would apply to Measure B, an instance that would cause us to have to dip into that. Do you have-
So for instance, if there was a disaster and, we had no more sales and we have no more revenue coming in whatsoever.
Earthquake demolished a building.
Yep, and our sales tax significantly dropped. And
Oh, I
we-
see,
we
it
had-
doesn't have to be pertaining to the properties owned by the Measure B,
Correct.
but it could be outside
Yes.
circumstances.
COVID hit
Yeah,
again.
yeah, COVID hit, you
Got
have, you
it.
have no more sales tax coming in.
Yeah.
This is a reserve that you
Got
can
it.
pull to
Makes
operate.
sense, totally.
Yeah, people, yeah.
Okay.
I know that.
How often does a, electronic health record system fail?
Doesn't necessarily fail, but they have to be,
Updated.
updated, and they can become out of date quickly.
Yeah.
So would the updated cost to that come out of this reserve?
Yes.
Or it would?
That's what this reserve would do.
It's not gonna come out of new sales revenue?
Of course, we don't have new sales revenue.
That's for services.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Who has the authority to pull it out of the, and the reserve you talk about? Who has the authority to pull it out?
The Board of Supervisors at a 4/5 vote. There is one that is less than a 4/5 vote if it's in the actual budget at budget adoption time. But the board has a 4/5 vote on any of these.
So
How
we
did you
have,
come up with
we
the-
have a motion on the floor and a second.
We're in discussions. I got a
You're
second.
in discussion still, I think the rest of us.
Well,
So we need to be out of here in 10 minutes. Do you think
okay.
you can finish?
Yes, Yes.
Okay,
How
Thank
did you
you.
come up with the 20% for rainy day? Why 20? Why not 15 or 25?
It was an estimation, it was just that it, from experience and looking at what the county is using for other reserves on, I think we call it a contingency reserve, but like I said, the general fund operates differently. Their contingency reserve was 15%. But they also have, it's a different structure, so it was just an estimate right now. I mean, it could be
Yeah.
suggested to do something different. This policy can be amended in the future.
Okay, yeah, and one last question, okay? I promise, last question. The way the reserve was done in those first 5 years, when we had, I think it was a 6.85%.
Correct.
That 6.85 was taken out of from the fund balance and added each year, as opposed to just a one-time 6.85 of the balance. That's your reserve. Because like in a school district, that's how, we didn't have a cumulative reserve. So would this operate, this is not a cumulative reserve. We're not talking about taking 20%,
We would basically reallocate the prudent reserve into these buckets, and then go forward, whatever the revenue is for that year, the 20% would be added to. So if you got 20 million, or 2 million in that next year, 20% of that would then fund the rainy day.
so the rainy day is gonna grow
Yes.
from year? Oh, boy. See, I have an issue with that. Then it's, I mean,
Yeah, all of them.
as a benchmark, I think 20% is reasonable, but not to add on to it every year until it could get up to 6 million or 7 million. Why do we want it? Because we're taking all that away from the restricted fund balance. That's where my issue is. I don't see why we have to grow that rainy day, just like, yeah, I don't see why we have to grow it.
So GFOA standards are 16.66% of your budgeted amount each year. That is the recommendation from the Government Finance Operations, or Officers,
Yeah.
Government Finance Officers Association. That's what most counties use.
But they don't,
Does the county?
Okay, no more disassembling, please, because it's distracting.
but they don't take that 16%. So let me just use some round numbers. This is the best way I can use this with my own experience in the school district. If we had $20 million of expenses in a given year, fiscal year, and the district's policy was to keep a 10% reserve, okay? That's their rainy day fund. For that 20 million, 10% is 2 million. We would put 2 million into that reserve for that year. The following year, we have another $20 million budget. We don't, and we still have the 10% reserve. We don't take another 10% or $2 million and add it to the 2 million from before, and now the reserve is 4 million, which is 20%. And we don't keep accumulating it. We adjust the reserve based on what's budgeted each year, not increase it. That's where I have a problem with this.
So, the way the policy, the county current policy and the one that I was recommending, it does not have a cap. There would
Right.
be a proposal to have a cap. The way the county's actual policy for general fund, anything that's left over, so that 12 million, would actually automatically go to the reserves. I did not have that, thought process in the one for Measure B, because I felt that the restricted fund balance, we needed to be able to access it. But it is not uncommon for your full fund to be allocated out, at least for the general fund, to a reserve.
See, if it was allocated to the restricted fund balance, no issue. But the fact it's allocated to the rainy day, which ties its hand, can't be used for services or programs. See, this is all about trying to keep the money free for services and programs, which restricted fund balance can. If that rainy day fund is allowed to continue to grow and grow, it's at the expense of the restricted fund balance. That's where I have an issue. If we capped it at a percent of a given year's, I guess I don't even really know what the 20% is of.
It's 20% of the budgeted revenue each year.
Okay, so if we capped it at 20% of the budgeted revenue for a given year, great. Following year, the budgeted revenue changes, capping it, use the new, whatever that number is, take 20% of that, that's the new rainy day reserve. But we don't add onto it each year and grow it.
I
That's-
don't necessarily have argument with that. I mean, I know it, don't look at me sideways, but I get where she's coming from on this, that, you know, you wanna have more money out there for services.
Right.
And I get the prudent part of it, but I do kinda like that where you, every year you just look at what, yeah, it sounds like there's a lot of money being held back, and I don't know, I've never dealt with the Measure B, this is the first time we've all dealt with it, but just wanna make sure that you're not restricting back so much money that at the end of the day, we just have all this money reserved and reserved and reserved, and, you know.
Exactly.
I didn't vote to spend the money earlier on the 800,000, okay, so.
I mean, the 20
So I do think though that you wanna have, she might have a point on that you use a different, you do have a percentage, but if the next year your revenue is more, the 20% is on that amount, not every year added to it. So I'd have to think more about that too.
And the infrastructure, you know, that 24 million, at first I thought, oh my God, I think that's right on. Those other numbers were so deflated. Yeah, you know, and it's so expensive.
The maker of the motion, would you agree to put this off to the next meeting? Mary Ellen?
Is there a
We're not voting to spend the money. The money's still gonna be there.
Yeah.
To make the motion, if you would, I think it could speed things up.
Do we need an answer to this for the Board of
She
Supervisors?
needs to withdraw her motion.
No, we don't, it would be ideal to have something that we could close the year and reallocate these funds. That's why I was trying to get answer, when's the next meeting?
For Measure B in November.
So we technically would be closed hopefully by then, so we'd have to reallocate the funds in next fiscal year.
Oh, that's all right.
Because the other thing is, this reserve policy can be amended annually. If we were to implement it and it does not seem appropriate, there's always an ability to amend it.
I get it. I
The
understand.
75-25 you can take back to the
I can
board.
take that back to the board.
Okay. Okay, because we agree on that.
But I probably won't take it back separate like this. It would come back as an entire item, as a reserve policy.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Is there any other community and any county that's, or city, municipality that's done something similar anywhere else that has been doing the program for a while that could say what their recommendations, I mean, do we have
So,
anybody to go off of?
What I have to go off of is what our consultant compared us to for the general fund. I have not looked at I looked at like what Sonoma County does,
On
but
the measure?
on their measure, but all I can see on their financials is it's all lumped into one fund.
But Measure B is a unicorn pretty much, isn't it?
I think it is.
Yeah.
Sonoma
Me-
County has something similar.
I'd be kind of curious to see what they did on that.
They always end up with more money than we do because they're bigger and they have a
Just
bigger
makes
tax
more
base.
sense also to try to get it the way we want it from the get-go.
Being Zoom.
I mean, I don't know that it
So when,
If you took a
right
vote right
now,
now, it would pass, right?
But once we vote, that's it. We can't say,
well, we asked Mary Alice if she would take her,
You can change it next year. I mean, it's not ideal to change the policy every year, but if we go through a year and this is not what we're intending, you can always bring the policy back.
if we have a special meeting,
okay, there's a motion and a second, all right.
I was just asking a question, if we were to have a special meeting, when, you're getting audited now, when does this year close?
It closed on June 30th of '26, but I believe that they're trying to close and have everything, we have to have it finalized by December. But I think we're having departments submit everything by mid-October.
But next year it could be changed, is what you're saying, if we decided to do something different,
Yeah,
right?
if we went through this and had it reallocated, and it's not what we are intending,
Okay.
this policy can be updated, and I think I actually say that this policy should be amended at least every 2 years, or reviewed at least every 2 years.
Okay.
So it doesn't mean that
Kind of
it's,
helpful.
But it could be every year.
it could be every year. So if it's something that we don't, unintended consequences from putting too much in a reserve, we could review it again.
Okay,
So we have a motion and a second, and she did
we
not
do,
withdraw it.
and the discussion, so can we do a roll call, please, Cody?
Yep. Member Alman?
Aye.
Member Paresh is not here. Chair Bradley?
Here, yes? Here.
Member
Still
Aviam?
here?
Member Miller? Member Muschetti?
Yes.
Member Pierce?
Yes.
Member Ramos?
She's not here.
Member Goff?
Yes.
Member Wilson?
Okay, passes with one.
Okay, my last thing is, I don't think it's gonna work, but on November 18th, when we have a meeting at Buff, I will be out of country.
Well,
I know.
who told you you could go?
Well, if I didn't make the arrangements, it's a Kosovo reunion, 26th, and I'm hoping we could move the meeting to either December 2nd or November 4th.
December 2nd or November 4th?
Carrie, do you have a problem with either one of those days?
I never know. Just do what you want to do and it can.
Okay,
I can have the staff send it out.
I really would appreciate it, thank you.
We can do that.
It's kind of important,
You
right?
think he's special enough to do that?
And then, I don't know. I don't know where Megan went to, but Megan, who was here with me, she is the elected auditor, so she will be, joining.
Is
the
that
board.
Megan?
There's Megan. She's our elected auditor, and so she is signing up to be on the board, in September. Thank you.
Okay, so do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Adjourn.